Guys, we have some special stuff for you today.
This show is completely driven by news and also our thoughts on off-roading. So please, guys, provide your thoughts
Absolutely.
on off-roading. And behind us, you could see a veiled image of a Ford Bronco because today's news has to do with the Bronco.
That's right. It's actually one of the pieces of news, but it is a pretty big one, and that has to do with something very dear to my heart. Transmissions, specifically a manual transmission.
Yes, and you guys always ask us about, do you know anything about the Ford Bronco? When is it coming? What kind of an engine it's going to have? What kind of a transmission? What kind of suspension? Well, this is here now because the news came out from an unnamed source, and originally Jalopnik picked up this story.
Right, they were one of the first.
And basically had to do with a 7-speed manual transmission possibility for the next Bronco.
That's right, and bear in mind that there's also speculation on top of that it'll be mated to a 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6. None of this is fully confirmed. However, I can say this. The platform that the vehicle is based on is the new Ford Ranger. We know that for a fact. And we know for a fact the Ford Ranger is going to have the 2.3-liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost engine. So it's reasonable to assume that maybe the new Bronco will have a base engine, perhaps that 2.3-liter EcoBoost engine, perhaps possibly hooked up to that manual transmission. 7-speed, not a 6-speed, a 7-speed manual transmission. 7.
Guys, how's the sound? We're still playing with the sound.
Oh yeah, are there problems with the sound? Please let us know.
We appreciate your feedback. Our regular producer, Zach, is not here. This week he's on an event.
See what
so
happens.
Obviously, when the cat is away, the mice will play, so we're still playing.
Or the idiotic mice will try to find their way through the dark and bump into things.
Okay, so we're trying to turn down some of the sound, so we really appreciate that. We're actually too loud.
Well, there's nothing new about that. So I'll tell you what, while we're working on the sound, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so as always, you can use the super chat. And actually, I have to ring the bell already because Trucker Dan donated $10 already. Trucker
Hey.
Dan, you're incredible.
Thank you, Trucker Dan.
He says, good afternoon. I'm like a lot of people super excited for the new Bronco. It would be amazing to have a manual trans. I just hope it's not like the Blazer Chevy that just came out. Well, we're going to touch on that actually.
Yeah, we are going to talk about the Blazer briefly, but yeah, and I agree with you 100%, Dan.
Let's recap just the news. Why we're here today. Oh, by the way, like you're saying, so for $5 we'll put your name on the hood.
That's right.
For $10,
Sticker.
for $25, patch.
And then, yeah, I think it's pretty slick looking. And then finally, for $50, you can get a hat, and if you wish it to be signed by us, we shall do so.
And email us at info@tflcar.com if you donate and you get some of these things and your address to ship it to.
That's correct.
But the big news today was that there was an unnamed source that released some information that said that Ford ordered a 7-speed manual transmission from GetTrack.
That's right.
And they're using that supplier for manual transmissions for the Mustang currently.
That's right. They have a 6-speed manual transmission that is being built for the Mustang. So it's reasonable to assume, at the very least, that they would be building the 7-speed. I don't know where they get 7 speeds from. I don't know if that's an accurate statement. We don't know. However, there are other vehicles that do have 7-speed manual transmissions, but they're pretty much sports cars.
Yeah, and the specifications on this manual transmission are to handle at least 400 pound-feet of torque.
That's correct.
Or actually 405 if you convert from Newton meters. And actually that number, according to some other reports, matches the torque output of the 2.7-liter EcoBoost.
Which is why people are assuming it's going to be the 2.7. And once again, I'm not saying it's not going to be, but I think that there may be 2 engine options. That's a possibility.
Yeah, and I think the 2.3-liter makes a lot of sense, like we discussed, because the new Ranger has a 2.3-liter EcoBoost.
Exactly. And that means that on top of that, we can assume, pretty logically, that the 10-speed automatic transmission that's being used in the full-size F-150 and also the Ranger would be used as well in the Bronco. So 10-speed automatic, possibly 7-speed manual. That's what it all comes down to.
And Ford has said officially in the past that the Bronco, the new one, and the new Ranger will be built on the same assembly line.
Yep.
So in theory, they'll be sharing frame components, or at least the frame. I don't know about the wheelbase. That's still to be known. We don't know. But a lot of other components may be shared.
Absolutely. Now, when you look at this image, this is their official image. This is Ford doing this. That wheelbase doesn't look as long as a mid-size pickup truck's, does it? Not at all. I think that it's a pretty good chance, once again, speculation, but it's a pretty good chance that it'll have a shorter wheelbase, which is better for off-roading.
Yeah, and this show is all about off-roading and how the future off-roading will shape up. But the styling of this Bronco looks squarish.
It does, but
Can you
check this
move
out.
on?
Are you guys ready for this? Ba-boom! I want to go back and forth. Check out the windshield. Just check out the rake of the windshield on the original Ford Bronco and this.
Very similar
Dude.
angle of the windshield.
That is extreme for a new vehicle because one of the places that you can save and have a lower CD for your aerodynamics is at the windshield, right? Well, Ford is looking at it, and for some reason, they really want to keep it a super steep rake, which is good for you because that means better outward visibility and a cooler look.
Just for a moment, you can leave it here on the classic
leave it
Bronco.
on the
That's a great image. But can I play devil's advocate for a second for manual transmissions?
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons? So the good thing is, usually a manual transmission may give you a better call ratio because of the low gearing on the first gear. Right?
They can, yes.
So that's good. That's good for off-roading,
Yeah.
for more control. It's also more challenging to drive a manual transmission off-road.
Yeah, only for people who have issues with walking.
True. But let me say, so what are some of the things against it? It takes money to develop another transmission.
It does.
And put it into a new vehicle.
Right.
Right. So if Ford was to put a 10-speed auto and an option for a 7-speed manual, that could increase their development costs. That could potentially increase their price of their Bronco.
Yes, but you're missing one point.
What?
You're thinking that 7-speed's proprietary, that it's only going to the Bronco. What if it's being retrofitted back into the Ranger later on?
And what if it's going to be in the Mustang also?
Possibly. Although I have a feeling that gearing for a truck and gearing for a high-performance car are going to be really different.
Absolutely.
But nonetheless,
the mounting locations and points, right?
Exactly. So Ford is usually really practical when it comes to what they build. They like sharing parts, and that makes sense. It means a cheaper vehicle in terms of, for the customer. So what if that transmission started out in the Bronco? Yeah, it's in the Bronco, and then they pop it into the Ranger, because currently the Ranger is only going to be available with a 10-speed automatic.
And by the way, we do know the horsepower and torque figures now on the 2.3.
That's right. We have
the truck.
Yeah.
270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. 310 pound-feet of torque for a mid-size truck. That's class-leading number on paper.
Yes.
And you know how manufacturers love class-leading numbers.
Oh, God, yeah, they do. And consider the fact that now Ford's been in the EcoBoost business long enough. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, EcoBoost.
No.
Steve Emmabiel donated $25.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
$24.99. Thank you for your support.
Appreciate that.
When the show is closing down, I'm going to put your name also on the board.
You'll be on the hood. And let us know what your address is so you can get one of these.
And also Timothy is asking, is Ford going to use the Coyote V8 in the new Bronco? Gosh, we hope so. But I don't know. Once again, fuel economy is an important consideration.
It is, and the Coyote is a fantastic engine. We both agree, and we love it. And I know a lot of you guys have been asking for various things to be done with the Coyote engine with the things we do. Unfortunately, Ford seems to be shying away from that engine, right? They seem to be putting it in less and less vehicles, and they've said before, straight out, they are absolutely dedicated to the EcoBoost setup. So, unfortunately, I doubt it. And also for such a small vehicle having a 5-liter engine, I don't know.
A lot of people are joining the show. We really appreciate your support, guys.
Howdy, guys.
Oh, and Alyssa just donated $5. Thank you, Alyssa May. Alyssa says, will the Bronco have the same towing as the Ranger, and will there be a new Ranger Raptor? Great questions.
We don't know the exact answers, but we can go on a few things that we do know. Now, let's look at this logically. We're talking about a much shorter wheel-based vehicle. Sorry, really bad with buttons. I would assume that it's not going to tow. Right now, the Ranger, its towing numbers are crazy.
7,500 pounds.
7,500 pounds.
I would agree with you. The Bronco may not tow the same.
Right. Wheelbase is most likely going to be different. Shorter wheelbase usually indicates less towing ability. And on top of that, you're talking about a Bronco. Off-road vehicle, softer suspension, not built for heavy towing. I'm going to guesstimate that its towing is going to be on par with the Jeep Wrangler, give or take, the unlimited Wrangler with the 4 doors. So that's my guess, but it's a logical guess. So when it comes to that, it will be able to tow, just not a hell of a lot. Now, in terms of the Ranger Raptor, we know it's being built for every other market but ours so far, so logic dictates that it would be coming here because they're going to sell the crap out of them if it does.
I don't know exactly when though, because they still need to launch the regular Ranger
Right.
here. So I'm with you. I think the Raptor version of the Ranger maybe is several years away, couple years away.
I'm thinking
but
two.
It's logical for it to be here.
Yeah.
Hey, it's the biggest pickup truck market, United States. So
Right, and you want a Halo vehicle, and
Yeah.
they already have a Halo vehicle with the Raptor, but that's a half-ton. So going down to midsize, especially because they want a Challenger to go right up against the Chevy Colorado ZR2, and I have a feeling that's exactly what the Ranger Raptor would do. Good stuff for us.
But I'm gonna blow your mind.
Blow my mind.
Maybe I won't.
Go ahead.
Bronco Raptor.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
So you know how Jeep Wrangler has the Sahara, the Sport,
Yeah.
which is the base Wrangler, and then there's the Sahara, which is the more luxurious.
Right.
I'm thinking about like Bronco Lariat, that the luxurious trim.
Sure.
And then the Raptor, just boom, Fox shocks, live suspension, big stuff.
Bronco Raptor. It just sounds kind of weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Raptor. Raptor.
Raptor.
Yeah, with rearing up with Angular.
A lot of people joining. I want to just mention a few names. Some regular folks like Juan, but also a lot more people joining. Giovanni is here. Joey's cleaning lady says they want to see Andre on the hood. No, you don't. You don't want to see me on any hood.
Guys,
Trust me.
in a very short amount of time, possibly within the next week, you're going to be seeing a video where we race across the country. You're going to get some wonderful candid shots of Andre.
I hope not.
You have to. No, you know exactly what I'm talking about, too.
We're calling it the not so great race.
The not so great race.
And it's Ford Expedition and the Chevy Suburban racing across the country.
We were Team Surf and Turf, so you can guess who was surfing. Okay? So, yeah, if you want to see that, watch that video.
Jagovsky donated $10. So thank you for your support. We're going to put your names, usernames on the board, and you can get a sticker. So
Yeah.
email us, please, at info@tflcar.com with a shipping address, and we'll sort that out very quickly.
Why don't we do some more shout-outs a little bit later and move on a little bit?
Let's
'cause we
move
got-
on to next news topic.
Right, which is right behind me. Boom!
Jeep.
Specifically the Renegade. It was just announced that the Jeep Renegade in Europe will but it will be a plug-in hybrid. They're building it right now. They're starting the plant very soon, I should say. So it's at the Italian plant. I'm blanking on the name of it. It was an unusual name but anyway, this vehicle will soon have a plug-in hybrid version, and there's no reason not to assume that it won't be here. No, not yeah. That's right. So they've been talking about electrifying their fleet now since Sergio was still alive and actually made that announcement. And by 2022, they're going to have 30 vehicles, according to them, electrified, either being partially plug-in hybrids, regular hybrids, full hybrids, all the way up to battery vehicles. And that's what they intend to do with 30 vehicles by 2022, which is a majority of their fleet and some new vehicles. But that also includes Jeep. So not only this one, but later on, you're going to see, according to them, a plug-in Wrangler.
And we have a regular picture coming up too. And by the way, the Renegade news is official for Europe.
That's
for Fiat Chrysler.
That is correct. That's for the European Renegade. However, whenever they do that, they tend to have the American version come out a little bit later. And I am pretty damn sure that's going to be happening relatively soon because, once again, 2022, they want to have 30 of their vehicles electrified.
The Ford Bronco news is not official. That was a leak that showed up in the outlets out there.
Right.
And that's what we're kind of trying to talk about.
And we're trying to get you the news as soon as possible. You guys ask us all the time about new news about these things. This is as quickly as we could get it from the press to you. So hopefully we'll get more information soon.
Denise Bailey says hello from Vladivostok, which is the very eastern part of Russia. So hello. How you doing?
Как дела?
Привет.
Привет.
So that's very good. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
A lot of comments here. One of it says electricity and snow or off-roading don't mix. It's a bad mixture. I would disagree with that. Roman had an experience in an electric Jaguar where he forded water.
And we're talking about an electric Jaguar, by the
All
way.
electric.
All electric.
You just had an experience in an electric vehicle in the rain
Yes, I did.
this week.
Yes, I did, and it was it worked just fine. Here's the bottom line: electricity, gas engine, diesel engine. It doesn't really matter. Nowadays, we have the technology to sufficiently waterproof whatever's necessary, whatever components are on a vehicle in order to make it work in any temperature. The bottom line is the cool thing about the possibility of off-roading with an electric motor is you have maximum torque at 0 RPM, which is huge, and altitude will not affect the performance or the output of the motor, not whatsoever. And finally, you know what? There's something to consider. An electric motor may do really, really well submerged as long as it's properly protected, because there's no intake you have to worry about. There's no exhaust. There's no anything.
It's fully contained.
It's completely contained.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree that it's at first you're sort of like, wait a minute, electricity and snow or rain or anything else. However, with current technology, we can make an electric. Hell, we put a man on the moon with an electric buggy back in the 70s. So, electricity has its potential.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a hello from Javier from Puerto Rico. Thank you for joining
Hola.
us. Chase is, of course, here. And Chase says, when are they going to put the battery electric system in the Tacoma and the 4Runner? We don't know, but we're going to talk about those Toyotas a little bit later. So,
Yeah.
So let's keep going as we also look at a lot of your comments. So Jeep actually announced, they said the intention is to build the plug-in hybrid Wrangler.
That is correct.
Because also the diesel is coming out.
Yep. Provided that they don't change their mind.
Right. They may still change their mind on diesel, but they also said that the plug-in hybrid Wrangler is coming, which is great for extending range. Also good, potentially, if the battery is big enough to run some tools or accessories.
Which is a really cool option if you think about
Right.
it.
So overlanding is a big thing, going out there with a solar panel and being independent, that's really huge.
It is. Now, keep in mind, FCA has been pretty good about starting to build up their portfolio on electric vehicles or electrified vehicles. Currently, they have the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid minivan, which is doing really well, and it's an excellent vehicle from what we hear. You drove one actually at the event, so you
Yeah,
can
in
find,
California,
yeah,
and it was a great experience. The new V6 plug-in Pacifica van, yes, it's a minivan, but the drive system was smooth and powerful. I was really impressed.
over 30 miles on an full electric charge, by the way, so you can pretty much drive it all the time, kids back and forth to school, without having to worry about gas. Here's the other thing. The e-torque systems, they now are available in both the Ram and the Wrangler. They're on your dealership lots now, and that is a mild hybrid system.
Yeah, we have a question from Donald. When is Andre going to review Russian cars?
Dude.
Soon, I hope.
Yeah, wouldn't they be cool?
Yeah,
I want to do it with him.
I'm trying to buy a lot of Niva, and I found one, but it's not 25 years old. It needs to be 25 years old or older. Anyway, it's a long story. I'm trying to do that soon. When is the Not So Great Race coming out? The video? We're targeting this weekend, but it's a big edit, so we're working really hard.
It's a lot of work, and we have a lot of decisions that we still have to make as they're editing.
So let's keep going. Because we want to talk about the future of off-roading.
That's right. And so what you see behind us is the benchmark right now. It's the Jeep Wrangler. Even people who hate Jeeps have to acknowledge that this is a really capable off-road vehicle, especially the Rubicon. However, in the near future, you're going to be seeing Challengers, and we just talked about the Bronco,
Right.
and that will definitely be a Challenger. However, this is another Challenger.
Yeah, this is the 2019 4Runner. This is a picture from our video where Roman drove the new TRD Pro 4Runner, which is now getting Fox shocks.
That's right.
And a lot of off-roadness baked into it.
One of the most capable off-road trucks this side of the Wrangler, in my estimation, and Roman's as well, and I'm sure you agree, is this vehicle. It is excellent.
And here's the thing. It has an independent front suspension.
Yes, it does.
A rear axle.
Yes, it does.
And that's the same as the Ranger. So we could assume that the Ford Bronco will have an independent front.
Yeah.
And solid rear. A lot of hardcore off-road guys say you need to have solid axles front and back, right?
I'm not going to debate that. I agree with you guys. However, a majority of the people who buy these vehicles are not going to be going crazy off-road boulder bouncing. So having an independent front suspension makes your vehicle much easier to drive on a daily basis on the streets. And most off-roading, it's been proven, can be tackled with an independent front end. Proof in the pudding is, may I show him? Where is it? There we go. That's
Yeah.
a really good example right
So this
there.
is the next generation G-Wagon. It's not quite made it to American dealerships yet. It was revealed here. It's now on sale in Europe.
Right.
They switched from a solid front axle to an independent front.
What you're looking at right now is the newest one with an independent front suspension. And that is some pretty good looking articulation right there. And they didn't want to take the vehicle and turn it into something that can't go off-road, even though, frankly, nobody's ever going to take them off-road, really. Bottom line, independent front suspensions have come far enough to where, especially if you're desert racing or moving really quick, fantastic. And now, being able to go over heavy-duty obstacles, a lot of these long-travel independent front suspension systems are excellent.
Yeah, and you said it. I think the on-road comfort has to be there for a lot of customers, a
Oh,
lot
sure.
of drivers. And for some reason, as good as the new suspension on the Wrangler is, when you go over like train tracks or some sort of a pavement
Like a
imperfection,
separation,
like
yeah.
a separation in the pavement on the bridge or something like that, you could feel it in the steering.
Yeah,
It's
potholes,
just,
too.
Potholes. So I'm all for solid axles, but I think the motion or the movement in the industry is toward independent front. And actually, a lot of military vehicles use independent suspension systems.
All the way around.
Yeah, so it's not like independent suspension is a no-no. It's just that it has to be properly made.
That is correct. So the question is, how good will it be on the Bronco? We don't know. That's a big question, but Ford is definitely using the Wrangler as a benchmark. They have to, because they know that right out of the box, they're going to be competing with them. That means that every automotive journalist, including us, is going to compare them directly against that vehicle. Granted, other vehicles that compete against the Wrangler, like this right here, the G-Wagon, they're in a totally different bracket financially. But once again, despite that, they still compete with off-road with the Wrangler.
Yeah, of course, this is $100,000 vehicle. Right?
Or more.
The G-Wagon. There's a question about getting stickers or purchasing stickers. You can also actually purchase T-shirts and stickers at teespring.com. So if you go to the website, to the YouTube channel, there's a link there for Teespring.
Right.
It's teespring.com/stores/TFL. So you can find our merchandise there. We actually don't stock a lot of it here. We just have that stuff here for the show, for the live shows.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I just don't have the space.
Yeah, so thank you for asking the question. It's there for you as well.
So let's talk about the future of off-roading, because that is sort of part of what we're talking about when it comes to not only the Bronco, but other vehicles as well. Now, we pretty much finished up with the G-Wagon.
Yeah. Let's keep going a little bit
Boom.
further.
Land Rover.
Yeah, what's going on with Land Rover and Defender specifically?
Now, for those of you who don't know, back in the day, Land Rover built one of the most capable off-road vehicles out there. And for years and years and years, it had solid axles front and rear, and it was extremely capable in the rough. And for a while, it was superior. So were the other vehicles they built, because they were relatively simple and they were built for off-roading then. They started getting away from that because people wanted a car that was easy to drive on the road, yet could go off-road. So it went from being a super off-road vehicle that was kind of sucked on the road to now being sort of kind of an off-road vehicle that's really good on the road. And that's where people want it for some reason. Well, not everybody. That is the proof.
So this is the concept that's actually been going around for several years.
Yeah.
First they showed the two-door
Two-door.
concept. This is a four-door rendering from Land Rover. And there's some prototypes running around. There's some images on the web out there of like shortened wheelbase Range Rover and Land Rover vehicles.
Right.
But it's just we've been waiting a long time. Come on, Land Rover, make it. Please tell us what you're doing.
We should explain. This is basically supposed to be a Defender, or the maybe one of the prototypes.
Successor.
Yeah, the successor to it.
Yeah.
Now, the Defender went away it was over 10 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, and people were importing them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people love that rugged capability and the look of it. Once again, the square box, four-wheel drive system,
Relatively
hardcore.
simple. And the four-wheel drive system was mostly mechanical. Nowadays, with Land Rover and Range Rover, almost everything they do underneath the hood is based on computer technology or, anything other than mechanical
Well,
technology.
hugely sophisticated systems.
Very
Which
sophisticated.
it senses, wheel slippage on each corner, readjusts torque. All this is done real time.
And the suspension and everything else can lift you up and down and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but it's all done with software in a big way.
Which is the part that tends to go bad when it does go bad. Or that's what the fear is for a lot of people who are into four-wheeling. One of the first things I see in almost any review we do with Land Rover or Range Rover is, great, how long is it going to last? That's a good question. So having a mechanical system, having a vehicle that's a little bit more analog would probably make sense, right? I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, so there's a few questions here in the chat room, and I'm sorry, guys, I can't read every name and every question. I apologize. A lot going on here, but about the next generation RAV4. First of all, we haven't driven one yet. Second of all, its affordability. I mean, it's a small crossover. We've taken other RAV4s off-road.
Oh, yeah, we certainly have. In fact, we took one to Moab. I got a chance to do that 3 years ago, I guess it was. And it did really well. It back then, at least, it had a really good center locking diff that worked quite well in rough situations. Now, I know that some of you have seen on the net that someone got a hold of one recently, the new one, and did a little bit of a video on it, but there's not a lot of technical information that came with that. So the good news is I get to go with cameraman Matt to drive the...
But that's next month, in about a month.
It's about a month from now.
So, guys, still, we'll have time with it. Roman and I might actually see it in Texas next week. We're going to the truck rodeo in Texas, Roman and I, and then Nathan definitely is going to the event
in a month.
In about a month. So you'll see a lot more about this car as soon as we can bring that to you.
It's a hugely important car to Toyota. It's one of their biggest sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge seller.
Yeah.
So as soon as we know more, we will tell you. There's some questions about the Grand Cherokee. So
that's a good question.
Yeah, we don't have an image of it here. Obviously, the Grand Cherokee has been around for a few years.
Yeah, and it still is based on the old ML platform that was used way back during the Daimler Chrysler days. And once again, FCA has managed to take an old platform and stretch it out and make it last a long time. So, will that platform change? Yes. In fact, the last thing we heard was that supposedly they're going to be using an upcoming redo of the Stelvio platform, and that'll basically be what's used for the Jeep. Now, this is what we hear. It's not confirmed.
Yeah, there's not really, I haven't seen really solid news about when the next Grand Cherokee is coming.
Right.
Or, for that matter, when the next 4Runner is coming or the next Tacoma. I know there's a lot of questions, especially like from Chase and Juan and Danny 0510 who are asking about upcoming products. And like we're saying, as soon as we know something, we report.
That's why you're watching us now, because we had a little tiny bit of information on that Bronco and we send it right to you. By the way, if you just joined us, supposedly the Bronco will have, the upcoming Bronco will have a 7-speed manual transmission and most likely the 10-speed automatic transmission that they're going to be using in the Ranger. So,
by the way, this is not related completely to our discussion, but the 7-liter V8 in the Ford Raptor, that was kind of the news, or I would call it fake news, because it wasn't it wasn't based on any official information.
No, wishful thinking is what it was.
It's not coming to the Raptor at all, as far as we know, at all, none. They're focused on 3.5-liter EcoBoost for the Raptor from Ford. There's other companies that I reviewed a V8 Raptor clone.
That's right, you did.
True, that can happen. You can put aftermarket can do that for you. But the new 7.3-liter gas V8, that's the rumor going into the Super Duty, the new heavy-duty truck.
Right.
So, guys, no Raptor V8 from the factory. And until Ford tells us tomorrow, then we'll report it.
Right. So until we hear otherwise, you're not going to see that in any of the vehicles. Hey, look, I'm right there with you. I love a big V8, but Ford has found a lot of success with their EcoBoost engines, and frankly, right now the Raptor's a screamer. It is so damn fast.
Is it snowing in Denver today? It might snow tonight. So if you're coming to Denver like William Perkins, it might snow just a little. No big deal.
Yeah, but tomorrow we're expecting some snow. And remember that the early snow in Denver can be a little slushy. We're used to really powdery snow, so be real careful out there. It's going to be wet and slippery.
If we have time, we might go off-roading tomorrow because we love first snow. That's what we live for.
Yep.
So we're not sure, but we might do it.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Juan says we're awesome. Thank you, Juan. You're always supporting us. You don't have to tell us.
Thank you.
Well, no, that didn't sound good. No, thank you for your support.
He's Russian.
Keep going. Move. We're almost out of time. Here's something we wanted to bring up. This is the 2019 Chevy Blazer. Blazer has been known for off-roading
Back in the day, there were two different types of Blazers. There was your full size and there was a mid size. And yes, they both had versions that could really go off-road. I had a Jimmy that was also basically the same thing as a Blazer. And this is not that vehicle at all.
And so what Chevrolet did is they built, we haven't driven this, by the way, nobody has. It hasn't really reached dealerships yet, but they've made a crossover, which is a mid-size. So it's kind of playing in the same place as a Ford Edge. They made it wide, they made it low as they could. They gave it on-road dynamics, so it's supposed to be a sporty crossover to tackle the canyon roads.
Right.
But not to tackle rock crawling.
Not at all. In
No.
fact, Andre was there for the unveiling of it, and he had a chance to talk to one of the reps over there and get some of the inside information. They definitely tried to squirm around some of it. By the way, look very carefully at their wheel wells. Those are actually black fender components that go around each wheel well. So there's not at first I thought, wow, with all that extra travel in there, I'm thinking off-road. That's
trim.
That's trim. That's black trim.
And also the front is supposed to recall the Camaro. It's supposed to be that kind of sporty appearance. So this is not an off-roader, as you guys have mentioned in the chat room just now.
That's not going to stop us from trying to take it off-road.
We will off-road it.
Yes.
No. We'll off-road it appropriately.
Of course we'll be appropriate.
We're not going to take it on a cliffhanger.
No.
Maybe Gold Mine Hill.
That's right.
Next, what do we have? Do we have anything else?
Okay.
So if we're talking about off-roading in GM,
currently
the ZR2 is kind of where it's at, but it's a truck.
It is a truck. Question: how hard would it be to take that body and bed off and then put on a SUV on top of it? What if you took that and you put it on that? All of a sudden, you'd have a super off-road capable SUV, and it would kick ass. I'm telling you that the ZR2 is the finest off-road vehicle in its bracket by far. It's not just the fact that it has a locking front diff on top of everything else. It's the way they set it up. It's the bumpers. It's the armor. Really, the weakest point of it is its rear suspension, and not because of the travel, but because they actually hang down kind of low. But in terms of just forethought of serious off-roading, hell of a truck. So, once again, whoops, wrong one. That's what you want to put on top of that. There.
Yeah, you can hit the play button again.
Sorry about that. I'm used to PC, not to Mac.
That's okay. Our producer is not here today, our regular producer,
so nothing's been thrown at me.
We're mice playing with things.
Okay, why don't we wrap up with a couple more things, and then we'll bid everybody adieu.
I agree with the comment here in the chat room that Trailblazer is another name from Chevrolet's history that could be reused in the future. But Trailblazer was more of a kind of a family truckster, right?
Yep.
But they could turn it into a badass off-roader.
Well, overseas they use Trailblazer with vehicles we don't have and never had that are off-road worthy. And yes, they could reuse that name as well. But the bottom line is that they've gone and used the name Blazer on a vehicle that doesn't really represent anything that the original or second type of Blazer represented, right?
Yeah. There's also a few questions about the upcoming Jeep or Ram Wagoneer. So there's a lot of rumors about this, right?
They're testing them right now.
So the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer names are coming back.
Yep.
In the big way, and this is murky. I mean, there's a lot of rumors flying around that they're frame-based. There's a rumor that it may not be frame-based. I mean, I don't know. What have you heard most recently?
Well, a majority of what I've heard is we're not going to hear a lot until after they're done with the full reveal of all the Jeep Wrangler and Wrangler sibling vehicles. What does that mean?
And also the Ram 1500. They want to release that thing.
Yeah. That's all happening right now. So leading up to the LA Auto Show and then possibly the Detroit Auto Show, we're expecting the final versions of the Jeep Wrangler, including the introduction of the Jeep truck, the Wrangler truck basically, which is the JT. Once that has come out and we've seen it and they start selling it, then we'll start hearing about what they're going to be doing about a replacement for the Grand Cherokee, and then hopefully the Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer. That's all we've got. They've been, they're allowed to be cagey because they know that it creates buzz and eventually they'll release something. But at the same time, it's really important for them to release these vehicles relatively soon because in a very short amount of time, they're supposed to electrify these vehicles. So you probably, you get the gas ones out there so you can sell a whole bunch of them, and then you electrify it, right? You make money.
Yeah, and I think FCA, Fiat Chrysler automobile, I mean, they're missing part of the segment because the Chevy Tahoe and the Suburban and the Ford Expedition and some of the others in the space, like the Nissan Armada,
Right.
are enjoying good sales.
They are, and
Yeah.
and this is an untapped place for them. They haven't had a vehicle that was really been able to compete. Now, granted, we did a video recently using the Dakota,
Durango.
sorry,
Yeah.
the Durango, and it was awesome because it was an SRT. But the bottom line is, it's a much smaller vehicle.
It's a smaller vehicle.
and we know that.
It does have good towing capability, right?
Yeah.
And we've showed it in the past.
Yes, we have.
But it's not that body and frame where you can lift it and really make it off-road worthy as well as carry a giant family or lots of people in it.
It's actually on a stretched out Grand Cherokee platform.
Right.
And frankly, it's an old platform. We thought it was going away a couple of years ago, and they kind of pumped new energy into it. So anyway, guys, hey, we got to wrap it up. We are way over time. And anything else real quick before we go?
I can close on a sad note. There's a lot of people lamenting the and sadness about the departed FJ Cruiser.
Oh, man.
Departed Xterra. We feel your pain.
Yeah, I don't know what now with Toyota. I know what they were thinking because they put a lot of their energy in developing a bigger, better, supposedly 4Runner, and they did. It's a great vehicle, but Nissan completely just threw that option out the window when they got rid of the Xterra, and they have absolutely nothing to replace it with. So keep complaining. Write your letters to Nissan. Keep commenting on these webcasts and everything else you can because they do read them. And hopefully we'll convince them that we need a new, real, not some CVT powered, no, a real off-road vehicle like the Xterra.
All right, thank you guys. I'm going to put the folks that donated, I'm going to put you on the hood right now. Thank you, and please join us. We're not doing a show tomorrow, and Thursday we're coming back with a truck show.
Truck show on Thursday.
So with Mr. Truck.
Yeah, yeehaw!
Thank you guys. I
We'll see
appreciate
you later.
joining. We should have some music to play us out.
Yeah. Hasta luego. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao.
Okay, let's get some music.
Zajin. Niyangi Keseo. There it goes.
Are you going to kill us, Ian?